Hey, let me tell you a story about a man who believed he was just capturing moments, not souls. His name was Adam, and he lived in a small apartment above an old bookstore in Portland. He worked nights at a print shop and spent his days chasing light through a lens. His camera was his only friend. The world outside was digital, filtered, predictable, but film felt real to him. It breathed, it aged, it made mistakes just like he did. One Saturday morning he wandered through a local flea market. Dusty tables, faded signs, strangers selling memories for a few dollars. That's when he saw it, an old leaker wrapped in cracked leather. Heavy, cold, perfectly still. The seller was an old man with cloudy eyes and hands that trembled like film underwater. He said quietly that this one was special, that it never missed a face. Adam laughed, handed over $50, and felt the weight of the camera like a pulse in his hand. When he looked through the viewfinder, it was clearer than anything he'd ever seen. Like the world itself had been sharpened. That night he cleaned the lens, loaded an old roll of black and white film, and took his first photo in years. His window reflected the city's glow, and he pressed the shutter. A small click, a soft flash, silence after. He developed the film in his kitchen sink, the chemicals breathing like smoke. The photo came out darker than expected, grainy, unsettling. In the reflection of his window, there was someone else standing behind him. A figure with no face. He thought it was just double exposure. Too much caffeine. Not enough sleep. He threw it aside. 2 days later, he went out again. The camera hung heavy on his shoulder. He took a picture of a man feeding pigeons, of a woman in a red coat crossing the street, of a child holding a balloon. He didn't notice how cold the camera felt after each shot. That night he developed the film again. 3 photos. 3 people. 3 faces that looked almost alive. Their eyes seemed to follow him across the room, like they were trapped behind the paper. He turned them over, tried to laugh, but the air in the apartment felt wrong, stale, like someone had been breathing beside him. The next morning, he saw a news notification on his phone. 3 local deaths. The same people he had photographed. Same faces, same clothes, same day. His stomach turned. He dropped the phone. Tried to convince himself it was a coincidence. But deep down, he felt it. Something inside the camera was not his. He tried to throw it away, walked to the dumpster. But halfway there he stopped. Something whispered in his ear. A soft voice sang, "Not yet." He turned around. No one was there. His hands were shaking, but the camera was still warm, pulsing, like it wanted to be held. That night, he dreamed of faces floating in darkness, eyes staring at him from the negatives. When he woke up, the room smelled like fixer and old dust. The camera sat on his desk, facing him, as if it had moved. He picked it up slowly. The viewfinder fogged from his breath, and for a moment, he thought he saw movement inside the lens, something like a ripple under glass. He stepped back, tried to calm himself, took another photo, just to prove it was all in his head. This time, he aimed at the empty hallway outside his door. He pressed the shutter and waited. Later, when he developed it, he froze. There was a man standing in the hallway, staring directly into the camera. Eyes dark, skin pale, lips slightly parted. The same man from his first photograph. The faceless one now had a face, his face. Adam stumbled back, knocking over the tray. The photo slid across the floor. The man in it almost smiling. He tore the print in half. But when he looked again, the same image had reappeared on another sheet. Identical, perfect. The negatives hung wet under the dim red light, and each one now showed him in different rooms of his apartment, angles he never photographed. He tried to open the door to leave, but it wouldn't move. Something pressed against it from the other side. Slow, heavy breaths. He whispered, "Hello." No answer. Just the sound of the shutter clicking by itself. Once, twice, then a third time. He looked down and the camera was gone from his hand. The noise came from the table. It was taking photos on its own. Flashes lighting the room like lightning. Each time it clicked he felt colder, weaker, like something was pulling his breath out. He ran to the window, but the glass was black, reflecting only his outline. Behind him the flashes kept going. Steady rhythm, mechanical, merciless, until everything went still. When he turned, the room was empty. No camera, no film, no prints, nothing but that lingering smell of chemicals and a faint hum in the air. Then his phone vibrated. One new message. It was an image file. His own face staring back at him through a grainy monochrome filter. His expression frozen in shock. Time stamped just a minute ago. He didn't take it. He couldn't have. His hands were shaking too much, and yet there it was. Proof that something else was now holding the camera. Adam didn't sleep that night. He sat on the floor staring at his phone. The photo of his own face still open on the screen. The longer he looked, the more he noticed the details. Behind him in the picture, the window was cracked open and someone's hand rested on the glass. It wasn't his. His window was closed now, locked tight. He wanted to delete the image, but his finger wouldn't move. It felt like the phone itself was waiting for something. The light flickered. A hum from the fridge cut out. Silence filled the room like a blanket. Then the phone screen dimmed on its own, and the picture changed. Now his mouth was open, his eyes wide. He could almost hear the sound of a shutter again. He dropped the phone and stepped back until he hit the wall. The air felt thick, heavy, like being underwater. He whispered to himself that it wasn't real, just sleep deprivation, just film fumes in his head. But deep down, he knew something followed him through that lens. In the morning, he packed the camera in a shoebox, taped it shut, and drove out of the city, far beyond the suburbs. He stopped near an old lake where he used to fish as a kid. No signal, no houses, just fog and wind. He threw the box into the water and waited until it sank. He stood there for a long time, breathing again, thinking it was over. But when he returned home, the camera was back on his desk, still dripping wet, the leather case soaked. The lens fogged from within. He felt something break inside him, that quiet thread that held reality together. He screamed until his throat burned, but no one heard. The neighbors said later, they just thought he was testing audio. The next days blurred into each other. He stopped going to work, stopped eating. The only light came from the enlarger over the sink. He kept developing photos that appeared on rolls he never loaded. Strangers, faces, empty streets, and always that same faint outline of his own reflection in the distance. The negatives multiplied, hanging from wires like ghosts. He couldn't stop looking at them. It felt like they were alive. Sometimes he heard them whisper, calling his name through the static grain. One night he noticed one of the photos had changed. It now showed his living room exactly as it looked in that moment. Even the half-empty cup of coffee on the table. He checked the camera, but it was off. Battery dead. Still the images kept appearing. The next film showed his bedroom while he slept. He tried to destroy them, burned a stack in the sink. But the smoke formed shapes that looked like faces screaming without sound. And when the last ember faded, the prints reappeared on the floor, untouched, perfect. He decided to confront it, to take control. He sat down, loaded the camera again, pointed it at the mirror, and said quietly, "If you want me, take me." The click echoed like a gunshot. The flash blinded him, and everything went white. When he opened his eyes, it was morning. The camera sat still, quiet, and the roll inside was full. He developed it slowly, each frame showing a different version of himself. One smiling, one crying, one staring blankly. In the final photo, he was standing behind himself, a hand on his shoulder, his own eyes looking terrified. He dropped the tray, ran out into the hall. The neighbors' doors were all open, but no one was there. Every apartment identical, same furniture, same photographs on the walls, hundreds of them, each picture showing him in different places, different poses, like copies spread through time. He stumbled outside into the rain, the sky gray and cold. He tried to throw the camera again, but the strap tightened around his wrist like a hand. Pulling back, he fell to his knees, begging it to stop, to leave him alone. The shutter clicked again, and again, faster, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. People passed by, but no one seemed to see him. Only the flashes lighting the wet pavement. When it finally stopped, he looked up, and the streets were empty. Even the traffic lights were frozen. His reflection stared back from every shop window, each one slightly delayed. He whispered, "Please let me go." But the reflections only raised their cameras in unison. The flash hit again, and he was gone. Days later, the landlord unlocked his apartment, everything inside covered in dust. No signs of struggle, only hundreds of black and white photos pinned to the walls. All of Adam, standing in different places, looking into the lens. The police took the prints, the negatives, and the camera, but a week later the evidence room burned down. Only one photograph survived, a blurred image of a man holding a camera, his face half gone in the light. They never identified him. The store owner who sold the Leica disappeared too, his stall empty, his table bare except for a single new camera waiting under a cloth. Some say it appears every few years at different markets, always pristine, always loaded, waiting for the next collector. So, if you ever find an old camera that still smells like smoke, don't look through it, because once it sees you, it never forgets you. Hey, if you like this story, stay close for the next one. Subscribe and keep your eyes open. Sometimes the lens is already watching.